The Wonderful World of Darklords. Report 1. The Pride Lands. Although my patron knows the circumstances of this project's inception, I record them here for posterity. I was recently approached by a wizard calling himself Yensid, which I believe to be a pseudonym, as I can find no records of his existence, who wished me to perform an ambitious undertaking on his behalf. A previous scholar in his employ had surveyed several prominent domains for him, but met with some misfortune or another before she could finish the task. Yensid asked me to continue her work, and with the compensation he offered, it would be foolish to say no. The material rewards were all well and good, but it was the offer of further tutelage in the magical arts that captivated my interest. I have progressed as far in my studies as I can, but I know my powers are not sufficient to protect myself from the creatures that stalk the night. Thus, armed with a lion's tooth as a mist token, I began my survey with a domain that was utterly foreign to me. A land with a vicious, petty king who seems bent on running it into the ground, while his Knoll enforcers terrorize the populace, the Leonin nobility dream of their lost past, and all watch helplessly as a once proud nation withers into nothingness. The Lord. The king of the Pride Lands, Scar, is an unusually scrawny specimen of a Leonin who inherited the throne after the untimely deaths of his brother and nephew. His reign has been a series of controversies and outright missteps, from his mismanagement of the Pride Lands' once abundant natural resources to his shocking alliance with the bordering tribe of Knoll scavengers. He has dedicated his attention to expanding the palace and indulging in entertainment, claiming that these ostentatious displays of wealth prove that the kingdom has entered a golden age. The people of the Pride Lands have a fanatical devotion to the ideal of the monarchy, and none will ever challenge Scar so long as they view his claim as legitimate. Furthermore, Scar seems to have almost supernatural powers of cunning and persuasion, and many who intended to challenge him in the past left his presence shaken, demoralized, and reluctantly supportive of his reign. The land. The Loxodon, Gif, Harengon, and other citizens that I spoke to all swore to me that the Pride Lands had once been a paradise, teeming with wildlife, lushly blanketed with grass, and flowing with fresh water. I could see no sign of this former glory in my visit, however. Scar's heedless exploitation of the land for his own advancement has left it as dry and barren as Pride Rock itself, and many of its people spend the entire day searching unsuccessfully for food. The lot of the Knolls is perhaps the best of all those who dwell in the domain, although this is saying little. Due to their privileged status as Scar's enforcers and spies, the king prioritizes them in the distribution of rations, ensuring that while they may be hungry, few of them will starve to death, a fate that is all too common in the Pride Lands. Rumors persist, however, that even they go without more often than not, and that they have turned to unthinkable methods to sate their hunger. Despite all this, Scar's unnatural powers of persuasion allow him to keep the population in hand, save for one group of restive Leonin women who chafe at his reign. Although their leader, Nala, has yet to defy him openly, she is becoming a rallying point for those who secretly wish to overthrow him, and it seems like a matter of time before she either challenges him or faces exile or execution. Dread possibilities. Scar was delighted to grant me an audience, pointing to the construction of his luxurious palace and the increase in exports to the core as evidence of his superior rulership, although no one else in the Pride Lands seems to have benefited. My guide, Scar's Aarakocra Majordomo, kept me on a tight leash during this visit, likely so I would not notice how gaunt the servants were. On our way out, however, the Majordomo accidentally allowed me to encounter Sarabi, the former queen, whose dignity and grandeur are untouched despite the lines of hardship that mark her face. While Sarabi shares her people's reverence for the office of the king, she clearly has none of that respect for Scar himself. I was left with the distinct impression that she prays in secret for him to meet an accident like that which claimed her husband and son. Nevertheless, when I asked whether she had any sympathy for Nala's band, she made all the proper noises about the rightful king before changing the subject. Scar's Knoll captain of the guard came in shortly afterward to escort me from the premises. Perhaps it was my imagination, but she seemed discontent as well. odd for one with her unprecedented levels of privilege and power. Parting thoughts. The Pride Lands are a cursed and desolate place, ruled by a tyrant who seems set on squandering all the riches it once had to offer. The people suffered terribly, and I confess I breathed a sigh of relief when I left it behind. As the heat shimmer around the domain cooled into mist, I held my candle token close and prepared to enter an entirely different land, with a lush forest, a beloved matriarch, and a thriving village called Encanto. I send this to you, my patron, with my regards, D.
This is sloppy at best, my little servant. I expect further reports to be more thorough. You paid little heed to the events that occurred to issue in Scar's reign. These events are key to determining the nature of the dreadlords that rule these misty lands. I suspect untimely is not the correct description of the previous ruler and his son's deaths. As for this Scar, it seems he himself is a scar upon the land, if the memories of its populace are to be believed. Though it is natural for the rabble to respect the authority of the monarchy, the disconnect among the populace and their inability to act against a newly appointed leader suggests there is more to Scar than his lazy, self-serving rule. This deserved further study that you did not provide. On one point we can agree, my servant. Your magical studies require ample guidance, so you may look past the mundane and see the truth.
This has been The Wonderful World of Darklords. We have no affiliation with Disney or Wizards of the Coast. All music recordings used in this episode are in the public domain and were obtained through museopen.org. Titles and links are in the show notes. Dialogue for Yensid was written by Aslan Rex himself, who you can follow on Tumblr at Darklord Aslan. The Wonderful World of Darklords logo was designed by Haylight Jones. You can find links to their work in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, look for us on patreon.com or find our tip jar on Red Circle. Thanks for listening.